Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. Oh, my Lord. Trying to get live today was such a struggle, but once I figured out why for the last 2 days the stream could not be perfected and it kept dropping, and I couldn't understand what was happening, and it was just, and even today I couldn't figure it out. And then finally I realized that the cloud was just continuously uploading files that I was getting rid of, and it was just taking up all of the memory and all of the bandwidth and all of the resources. Ooh, that's so interesting. Taking up all of the resources, so that trying to stream and make a connection, it was just a consistent buffering, and I didn't understand it. So I turned it off, and wouldn't you know it, it just automatically started to stream with the same health that it's been streaming every other time. So here we are. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. We made it. This is the Daily Medicine transmission for March 23rd, 2021. All right, so I'm going to get right into it because I am an hour behind and I did not anticipate losing an entire hour on technical stuff. And boy, I have a lot of work to do today. So thank you if you are here as a result of participating in the Redream the World in the Age of Aquarius astrology retreat. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I have a boatload of demo starseed readings to do for all of those who registered and participated. So I really want to get on that. But this message is really important, and being consistent is actually one of the most important things we can do. So I could have easily just said, screw it, and I'm not going to give the message today, but the transmission needs to come through, and sometimes we have to take a detour. Now, what's interesting, and I'll get into the astrology and the actual intuitive reading itself and connect all of these dots, but what I find really interesting about this situation, especially connecting to the astrology and where everybody kind of, collectively is at in these different ways, is that, wow, did you see how resources are limited within a structure, right? And in this situation, for instance, what a perfect analogy. All of the resources that my computer needed to be able to stream this video were being taken by this other process that was running in the background. And I did turn this process on, not realizing that it was going to take days and days and days to transfer these files over to the cloud. And quietly in the background, it's just been going on, and not realizing that it's taking up all of these resources. So it's important to realize that as we are being mindful of our resources and being aware of where they're going, because sometimes there is things operating in the background that we forgot that we initiated, that we don't even realize have been initiated. Maybe somebody else before us had initiated it. Maybe we gave consent to have it initiated at a certain time in the past. And oh boy, let's just get right into the astrology, because this fits in so well in terms of liberating ourselves from the past with Mars and Gemini, and how Gemini, as much as it is about distraction and the mutable air energy that allows us to move seamlessly, if we can, between the polarities of ideas, the thesis and the antithesis, as we talked about, especially with the Hegelian dialectic. As much as Gemini and that mutability allows us to span the spectrum of information and ideas, the distraction with Gemini is huge. Because it's so mutable and malleable, we can get pulled into just about any stream of consciousness if we allow ourselves, and we can easily get pulled off. And with Neptune and Mercury in Pisces, the confusion is really high. The distraction potential is really high. And these two aspects, Mercury and Mars, are going to square each other today. So being aware of what is running in the background, right? And knowing that the path to illumination is it's a narrow path that we each have to walk individually. And it's only us that can take the steps. There are lots lots of resources. There's a lot of guidance. There are lineages available. There is a cohort and a collective that we can tap into with Pisces on a very energetic and emotional level. We can empath our way through a lot of this stuff, which is important. We have to understand what it feels like in our body, in our emotions, when our intuition is working, because there is so much confusion, there is so much fog, and the distraction is so high. But we have to realize, and this is where Mars really comes in handy right now, to have this demarcation point, right? Liberate ourselves from the past. And if the past has been a program operating in the background that is chewing up all of your resources, well, it's time to stop that. It's time to find the source of that and cut it off, at least for now, because it is keeping us from getting to being on our narrow path. Now, the square, let's just look at the astrology today, because, man, I'm so off my center, but it feels like that this particular detour is really important for the larger message, because we still have the moon in Cancer. Okay, let's do this here. We still have the moon in Cancer today, and will continue to be here up until about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when the moon's going to go into Leo, and then we are going to have things are going to pop off a little bit, at least for us personally and our intuition. That Kundalini energy activates with Leo. The passion rises within us. How do we express ourselves? We take social risks. And when we're talking about the moon, it is very much about our personal, intuitive, inner landscape on how we experience these archetypes as the moon moves through each sign. And so we're finishing up Cancer, and there are some interesting connections here that are important to look at before we look at this square between Mars in Pisces, that's going to then catch up Mars in Gemini and Mercury in Pisces squaring each other, this mutable square today, which very active, outwardly focused manifestation type of energy that Mercury and Mars, right? They each rule air and fire signs. So, and Mercury in Pisces, yeah, the confusion, the fog, the distraction is really high. And as we get geared up for this full moon that's coming on the 28th, that is so powerful, that we really do need to kind of practice and really get into where we belong, where we feel we belong, where is our safe space, and not in a way where we never are triggered and never have to be challenged. That's not what that means. That means the place where we are rooted to the sense of who we are and the core of who we are, so that when things are changing and shifting and rumbling all around us, we know where we belong. And this moon in Cancer is giving us this opportunity. Because look, there's an opposition today. There's an opposition today with the Cancer moon to Pluto in Capricorn. And it's going to be a test to a certain extent, because this 26 to 27 degrees of Cancer, which is actually going to be happening very shortly, right? Just in a matter of this hour, really, or hour or two. As storms move through the canyon, right, as there is a rush of energy that moves through a space, what is it that protects us? Cancer is the Chariot energy. And in opposition to Pluto, first of all, I mean, you can just rest assured that Pluto is the Lord of death and destruction, and has been at this point in Capricorn where it's been taking away all of the pathways up to the top of the mountain that we have already been relying on in terms of the old structure, the old guard, quote unquote, the old matrix. And matrix is really just a very, I don't want to say generic, but it is. It's a very generic idea of a lattice work of material reality, just like all of the atoms in matter are connected either through bonds or through actual bonding in terms of sharing electrons, or actually bonded in a lattice structure that makes a salt or a mineral. that's just kind of the generic way. I don't even want to say generic because I don't want to take away how incredibly important and powerful the word matrix is, but it's really just the lattice work, the geometry that holds material reality together. And in this particular aspect of Pluto and Capricorn, as I've talked about many times, especially now, we're getting so close to the exact point of the United States Pluto return. The pathways up the mountain that have been tread for generations, that have been worn down by pilgrim after pilgrim after pilgrim, are being destroyed, and we are being forced to find new pathways, which I've talked about a lot. But this moon in Cancer, each of us is going to experience some level of storm, some level of disruption, right, in this canyon. And there's a lot of but there's a protection that is afforded by the walls of the canyon that do protect us despite everything coming through. And so this opposition today this tension is going to give us a chance to find this balance point, because we have to actually lean in and accept to a certain extent where Pluto is, right? We have to accept that. We have to acknowledge it. We have to work with it. But also at the same time, this is giving us an emotional capacity to be protected despite the storm raging through this canyon, for instance. So this is bringing it back to, where do we feel at home? Where do we belong? Where do we feel safe? At home in our own galaxy, right? And this is a reference to the Blind Melon song, Galaxie. I'll link it in the comments because it's such an awesome song. And if you really read the lyrics, you'll see how much of this is, how much of their own, Shannon Hoon, who is the lead singer for Blind Melon, who incidentally died in 1995 at the age of 28. So part of that Saturn return, or lack of Saturn return club, right? The 27 club, that's the first Saturn return. If you're not going to make it past that first level of responsibility, maturity, or growing up, whatever that means. And you see a lot of people who are famous musicians and artists and cultural icons, they don't make it past this point because it requires a growth that their soul is just not, they're not going to move forward with. But anyway, that's a side note here. What is important to recognize here today with the moon in Cancer, before moving into Leo, where this square between Mercury and Mars is going to be, where we're going to feel way more wanting to express that part of ourselves, is to acknowledge where we feel safe, acknowledge where our root system is. And by the end of today, when the moon comes into Leo, it's going to then trine as well, we're going to look at that actually. It's going to come into a trine with Venus newly in Aries today. This is going to be by the end of today, very end of today, like tonight. Right before midnight Eastern Standard Time. Oh, that's fascinating. Right before midnight. So the day really ends with this trine with Venus and a Leo moon. And where does that leave us? I mean, that really does leave us in a situation where we're going to have to, we're really going to want to, how do I say this, conquer that animal nature that Leo represents. And it's not about conquering to repress it, but it's about conquering so we can utilize that Kundalini energy. We want to be able to channel that appropriately. But it's going to require, with Venus, especially in Aries, right? Like I said, with Venus in Aries, she is very fierce. She pulls towards her what she wants. She's very passionate. She has a lot of desire. It's about what she wants and how that allows her to actualize herself, right? And so there is some fire here with Venus and some passion. But in early Aries like this, this is about, and this is where the sun is too today, this is about, it's not a closed system, but there is a seclusion here in order to work with the dichotomy of within us, right? The polarity within us. And a lot of Aries is working with this duality within the potential of individualization and who we are, right? And so when the moon in Leo gets to this point by the end of the day and is in a trine, right? A trine, 120 degree angle, something that is very balanced and structurally foundational. Doesn't really require much in the way of participation for it to be balanced and harmonious. We're going to want to really utilize these skills and showcase them to a certain extent. And maybe we're just feeling that. Maybe we won't necessarily express that openly, but what it will do is we're going to need to, in fact, we are going to want to kind of pull in a little bit, where are we at home? What is our galaxy? And maybe we're going to have to pull in and consolidate a little bit, and not necessarily in a completely closed loop system. We still want to be connected to the natural world, but we're not necessarily going to be expressing any of this in a specific way outside of us. It's more about doing that inner work and coming to terms with where we're at home, because like I said, this square now with Mercury in Pisces to a Mars in Gemini is really gonna test us, because there's an initiation that's coming here with Mercury in Pisces. Again, it feels to me like there's gonna be a lot of challenge to pull us off our center, especially in our mind and in communication, and things being put out into the collective sphere in order to engage with communication-wise, information-wise, especially Mercury in Pisces now. I mean, news propaganda is pretty much on the menu for this. And in a square to Mars in Gemini, really wanting to liberate ourselves from the ghosts of our past. And that, because, and it's a total liquidation of the past, right? In order to move into the future. And Mars is the ruler of Aries, it is enterprising, it is passionate, it has courage, and is the action hero of who we are. And so there's going to be a test. It definitely feels like a test of our ability to stay centered and focused and know where we feel safe and where we belong, because there's going to be a lot of triggers, I feel like, in order to pull us out of that. And with the full moon coming, that's going to really highlight a lot of how we are easily triggered into getting out of our center and our concentrated attention on the big picture. This feels today like that's going to come up very strongly and be put right in our faces. And in fact, it's going to challenge our ability to find safety and a sense of rootedness in our own galaxy, where we belong amidst all of this other disruption around us. Okay. So that's the astrology for today. It's so interesting and powerful. Now, before the moon has gone into, this was much earlier today, but not that far away, the moon was also in a trine to Neptune, and it's Cancer moon in trine to Neptune in Pisces. This is, and also in a quincunx to Jupiter at the same time. So we're kind of waiting for the ship to come in, and not in a way that we are disempowering ourselves, but it's like kind of using our imagination in some ways to allow for this part of ourselves to know that it's coming and to be kind of dreamy and reflective about it. And again, this trine to Neptune, a very structurally sound and supportive connection that is about bringing that peak experience down to reality. Maybe it's not necessarily time to apply that right now, and it's more about, it's such a challenge to stay centered and stay in a receptive mode. And as we see with the transmission of the intuitive message today I'm going to give, that it's so receptive and it's so Venusian, and it's so much about pulling in and sitting with what is in order to know where we end and everything else begins. And there's so much to be gained here by what feels like a differentiation in terms of who and what we love and where we belong. But it's going to be internal work. That's really the strength of this message coming out today. So let's actually look here. I'm going to do this and we're going to do this reading. All right. So man, thanks for sticking with me. It's been quite a morning already. Really mellow up until I couldn't figure out. And that seems to be exactly how it's gonna, I could tell it's just gonna go like that, right? Everything's gonna seem fine, and then you're not gonna understand why things are not going the way you want, and you're gonna be distracted, and things are pulling us off center, and either outside of us or within us, and it all depends on your chart too, so you can see what areas of your life this is impacting. And then we're going to discover, oh, there's that thing that's running in the background. I'm going to get rid of it right now. And some of it might be easy to get rid of, and some of it might be a little bit more challenging. So we see the Queen of Discs, the Two of Cups, there's the Queen. The Two of Cups is Venus in Cancer. We have the Moon in Cancer. There's all this really beautiful Cancerian, protective energy, right? This surrounding us with love and familial bonds and a sense of belonging. And then we have the Nine of Discs, which is again Venus and Virgo, the gain. So there's so much to gain by just, really sinking into love and the differentiation that allows us to even experience love outside of ourselves. The Two of Forces, the journey, the Seven of Roses. We know we're going somewhere. This is actually a very beautiful reading that is asking us to hold something and to realize how much we have gathered so far, and if we can allow for that differentiation, that unity in differentiation, that the Two of Cups, the Ace of Cups is, the beginning. The Two is the separation. And even in Aries, even Venus in Aries today is moving to a position where we work within ourselves rather than, and still engaging with the outside world, but it's all about managing and working with the energy within and the polarity within, right? Going on a secluded walk, allowing things to come up to the surface very naturally, rather than trying to direct the course of anything. And we have so much to gather. We've just done so much already. There's so much to gather in today. So let's go through this one piece at a time. All right. So the Queen of Discs we have here. This is the mother, right? This is the mother that we all play. And remember yesterday, the Empress was the outcome, this abundance and great mother. Well, this is kind of like the Empress, but within each of us or an actual person, right? The court cards represent actual people. So security for the family, home and material, right? Pulling it in, fertility. So it is very Cancerian because there's the Queen of Discs, right? The water of the earth. And so the earth does hold water, and the mother archetype does hold space and security for all that she is responsible for, and all that look at this card. We're looking out and seeing our vast kingdom here. Either somebody we know, this is within us, and we're holding the globe in our hand. Everything we need is here, and we are kind of, presiding over it and taking a look outside of us. And this does go along with that Empress energy of the great mother and fertility and abundance. And now it's us. We're looking at everything that we have built, everything that surrounds us, that we're responsible for, what we can provide security for in terms of our material reality, because that's Venus. Venus is the material world. Harmony and beauty and balance, but also our senses, sense gratification, our self-worth, what is worthy, what is valuable. This queen is looking out over what is valuable to her. So this is the energy coming into the moment. So so reflective and beautiful. And then we have the Two of Cups. Love, Venus and Cancer, so much Venus energy, so much feminine energy today, so much receptive energy that's loving and soft and reflective and receptive, right? And passive, and not in a way that it's traditionally considered in terms of weak, but passive in a way that it's accepting, right? Harmony and pleasure and unity in difference. This is the heart of the matter today, is this Venus and Cancer, this Two of Cups. We can't really discover and experience harmony unless there is a distinction and a separation. And this is the first state of that. And Venus is about what we value, who we love, and Cancer is about the family. So it's really just about nurturing the essence of that bond, whatever that is. And, just holding it. Oh, it's so lovely. So the Two of Forces, here's another two. There's a lot of new energy as well today, because again, it's kind of pulling us back down into a new part of a cycle, especially with the equinox just happening, and getting a sense of where we do really belong. So the Willow here is about strong foundation, deep roots, right? There's a calm and peaceful energy that's in our conscious awareness, but there's also power and reinforcing of a foundation, right? The Willow has everything that it needs, right? The water, it's rooted into the earth. There's wind that's moving the leaves of the tree. There's sunshine, and everything it needs is here. And so it doesn't seem like anything is happening, but in fact, there are a lot of processes that are going on. And you see this bird is going to be important here, okay, in a little bit. Everything that is needed is there, and there is a strong foundation, deep roots that pull in what is needed. There's calm and peaceful energy. It's also flexible, right? The Willow is moving with the current of the wind. And so everything is here, and in our conscious awareness, in these upper areas energetically, we are the Willow, right? Calm, but rooted, powerful and reinforcing, but peaceful, everything here. And it's very new. Again, that differentiation from the Forces energy, which is the fire energy, the wands energy, the creative energy. So sometimes the creative energy is just something that just is, right? And that it is strong and rooted, but it's not necessarily doing anything, but there's a differentiation again. So it's new, and it's new differentiation. I feel like we are walking into this new, especially, of course, the Aries archetype is like this. And we have the Sun and Venus here. So of course, all of these aspects are coming back around and being very new. So what is at the root here, I think, is really interesting, the Seven of Roses. So the roses of the water element, the journey. And you can see that it's a journey over water. They're getting into their tender boat, which will take them out to the ship. And this is really about accepting that it's time for new stuff emotionally. And we are energetically rooted here, subconsciously rooted, that we're moving to new locations. We're going on a trip, a journey, relocating. Now, this could be literal. This could definitely be energetic and emotional. And considering that it is at the root subconsciously here, it does feel like that we are moving and relocating energetically, relocating emotionally in a subconscious way. We know that we're moving, even though our conscious awareness is on this rootedness and this stable foundation that is actually just as dynamic and active of a growth process, just because it doesn't happen in the time frame that we would want it. There's still lots happening with that tree, even though it seems very solitary. But at the root here, subconsciously, we know, and emotionally, we're going to new places. We are going to new places. When the moon comes into Leo today, by the end of today, and then is in a trine to Venus, that is, we are going to start feeling that movement, but it'll still be kind of contained within us. It'll be much more of a secluded walk in the woods rather than any kind of outlandish thing. Now, of course, that some people may experience it that way, but this is all pointing back to this experience internally that we are all having in with this very Venusian and feminine and receptive quality that is allowing us to know where we belong while everything around us changes. But there is an emotional transfer here. There's a movement and a journey that is at the root of this. Now, we can expect to be able to gain. Venus and Virgo gain, right? We are fully satisfied. We can pull in everything that we have done. We can gather in our crops. We can gather in all of our resources and really settle into them and have some, well-being and satisfaction, right? Venus is about satisfaction, and Virgo is mutable earth. It is about things being put where they belong, the process underneath the surface. And we've done, again, so much work under the surface that we can really then enjoy that and gather from that. And we'll see too that there's going to be some consummation as a result of this, because again, Virgo time at the very end of Virgo is when you start harvesting, right? This is the gain, pulling in all the crops. Success, well-being, that kind of stuff, and satisfied. Oh, very satisfied, very satisfied. And love is at the heart of it. Love in a very simple way, right? Venus in Cancer, it's very palpable, it's very material, it's very sense-oriented, but it's also very emotional and has to do with our emotional security as well. Now, remember I told you about the willow, and look at that bird. So the falcon is act on opportunity that's before you. So we can't act on the opportunity that's before us and commit to it unless we are totally in the moment and we are very aware of what's going on around us. And so the guidance for this Two of Forces is the more that we are able to be stable and grounded and foundational, and that is in our awareness, and we are acting on that, then when it's time to, go on the emotional journey, maybe it's a physical journey. When it's time to emotionally move into a new place, we're going to be able to do that and act on it without equivocation, right? Without any hesitation. We will be able to do that. And maybe it's because we're up in the tree. Maybe we're flying above the tree. This kind of goes back to that first quarter square where the moon was in Cancer, which is hovering above everything and staying somewhat detached from it emotionally. The moon now in Cancer is very much in it. But that doesn't mean that we aren't grounded and rooted, because that is the Cancer archetype, or the root systems keeping us grounded. But the converse of that, right, the dualistic aspect is that there's also this ability to transcend things emotionally. And so when we are rooted, when we are foundational, when there's strength and calm and peacefulness, just like that willow tree, then when the opportunity comes, we will be able to act on it with full commitment, because we will see what it is. And Raphael, Archangel Raphael, number 8, this is about blessings and miracles, healing, right? Archangel Raphael is healing. He's got the pink, look at this, the heart chakra right here. That pink heart chakra. He has the green orb in its healing aspect. Raphael usually comes in the guise of as a humanoid or in human form to bestow a blessing, to perform a miracle. So be on the lookout for that, and know that if we ask for it, if we're open to it, it will come to us. And then we make a move, right? We make a move with total commitment, just like the falcon, but we have to be able to see it. And if we're struggling with being able to root and feel rooted and secure and peaceful and foundational, then we can ask. We can ask for assistance. We can ask for this miracle. We can ask for this blessing, and it will be brought to us. But we have to know what it is so that we can act on it when the time is right. Now, the zebra is, when it comes to that journey, it's scary to go to a new place. It's scary to leave things behind, even emotionally. And Pluto is just that opposition with Pluto and the moon today is going to just put it right in our face, right? That storm that blows through the canyon with all of those expensive homes. Like, is the canyon going to shelter and support us? Is the place that we have set down our roots emotionally, going to support us when the shit hits the fan. Because Pluto is going to make sure that happens. It's part of the process of growth and creation. In transformation, there needs to be a death and a letting go. So this is saying, let go of your fear and know that you're safe and protected at all times. There's a lot of energy around being agile, today with these animal messages, being agile and being, able to, act. And now this is saying, let go of your fear and know that you're safe and protected at all times. It's scary to go on a new journey. It's scary to put everything in that boat and go onto a ship and go to a new place and relocate, even if it's emotionally. But when you let go of your fear and you trust that you are safe and protected at all times, then this becomes a lot easier to do. I'm not saying that there's things that you shouldn't be concerned about. And no matter what, if you are in the middle of a storm, it is going to raise your fear, because we are in fact mortal and damage has been done in the past. And see, there's Mars in Gemini again, wanting to liquidate the past totally, absolutely, so that we can move into the future. And Mars will do so with some fervor behind him and with some action, because he does rule Mars. But we're protected. We're safe. You know what I mean? Our energy is safe and protected. And you call on Raphael for that healing and that bestowing of blessing in order to give you a sense of calm and comfort and rootedness, so that you can take this journey emotionally, because this is really at the root of things. If we want to be fully satisfied in everything that we have gained, we have to let go of our fear. And that means, maybe an old approach to something, maybe, especially with Pluto up the mountain, the old pathway that we're used to, is we have to go on a new journey now. We have to get up to that point in a different way, on a different path, because it's been destroyed. And that's really scary to go into new territory. But this is saying that we are safe and protected, and to remember that and to let go of our fear, right? Because we have to have the courage to face our fear and move into the unknown. Because there is a consummation here with the Four of Forces, the autumn, right? This is about gathering in the crops. Didn't we just talk about this? As Venus in Virgo, the gain, the Nine of Discs, gathering in the crops, full satisfaction of everything that we have cultivated and that we are reaping, right? You reap what you sow and you cultivate. Gather up the results of our actions and go on a new journey emotionally. There is work that needs to be done. That's the other thing about a harvest, in autumn. You have to actually go out and do the work, which is Virgo. Again, there is mutable earth. There's an actual work component, because they're talking about material reality here. And it's important to have gratitude regardless of what happens, because even if it doesn't go the way we had anticipated, we certainly learn something from that situation. Everything is a learning opportunity. So there's the gathering in of the crops and the harvest here. When it comes to this journey, we have to pull in everything that we have done in order to have the emotional fortitude to get into that boat and go forward into a new location and relocate ourselves. But that's part of the consummation here. It's part of the harvesting action, is pulling in everything we've done so far and applying it to the next stage, right? And the next stage is about an emotional journey. Like, we are going somewhere else. And we do have to face some fear. And we do, if we can trust that we are firmly rooted where we need to be, then, and there's protection, right? There's guidance, for our own guidance system, our own higher self source, right? There is a much bigger matrix unfolding than the one that Pluto is destroying, right? It's not going to be a vacuum. That's something to consider, is that Pluto is destroying everything that has to do with the old geometric pattern of material reality, but it won't stay that way. There will be something that fills that place. but we have to pull in everything that we've done so far in order to, we can't just like take everything with us on that boat. There's only so much room there. And so we have to also consolidate and make sure that we're taking exactly what we want into the next cycle. So thanks for sticking it out with me. I know that it was kind of a weird morning trying to get on track here, but now that I've personally figured out what has been running in the background, things seem to be going a little bit smoother. So thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you're interested in a reading or energy work, you can go to the website that is in the description box below, catalystenergies.net. If you want to connect on social media, you can connect through Facebook and Telegram. That is also in the description box below. I will now be able to upload to BitChute and Rumble because now all of my memory is not being soaked up from my computer. So if you are into BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube, of course, if you're watching this here, please subscribe. Definitely hit the like button. It really encourages and informs the algorithm to help push this message out. Oh my God, do you think that I would have gotten it together by now? And yeah, I think that's it. Oh man, it's so discombobulating to have our routine disrupted, isn't it? And so again, this is so important to know exactly where our galaxy is and where we're at home in, so that when there are disruptions outside of that we can handle them with grace and ease and be able to navigate very clearly where we're going. So thanks for being here and sticking it out with me. I'll be talking about the full moon very soon, and if you have signed up for a starseed reading from the astrology retreat or just a reading in general, that's coming as well. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow on time for the daily medicine transmission. Love you guys. Bye.